All right, here we are in the digestive system, and we are going to do some highlights to get you ready for your test. All right, first thing I want to make sure is that we understand the purpose of your digestive system is to cut things apart. It's a disassembly line, okay? We're going to take it apart, and as well as we have to eat it, we have to move it down the tube, the alimentary canal. We're going to mechanically digest it, chop it up, okay, churn it up with your stomach, chemically digest it with enzymes and bile to chemically break the molecules down. Then we have to absorb those molecules and put them into our blood, and what we don't absorb, we have to eliminate. 10-4? Okay. So, one of the questions we're always asked is the digestion being chemical. All right, so let's go over here on the board. One of the things we need to understand is that when we do chemical digestion, we are using enzymes, which are proteins. That's why they have protein names. Proteins that snip up molecules, okay, into smaller pieces for us. But they do it without themselves getting as part of, they don't become part of the product, all right? They just simply speed up the process. Well, you might say, what process are we speeding up? The process of hydrolysis. As the name implies, we are doing lysis. We're going to split things up, but we're not going to split water. We're going to split using water, all right? So here's an example. This is a typical carbohydrate. We call this one a disaccharide because there's two of them attached. If you remember from your chemistry days, there's a carbon at every corner, okay? And hanging off of each carbon is an OH and an H. Got it? An OH and an H. 10-4? Hence the name carbohydrate. Carbohydrate translates into carbon and water, hydrate, okay? So every carbon has an H and an OH on it, okay? All right, when we use hydrolysis, we're gonna take water and we're gonna split the water into two parts, an H and an OH. Got it? All right, well, when we put the H and the OH in here, this is what happens. We split this up, and the H attaches here, and the OH attaches here. And that's how we separate. Okay? See? So like I said, the H goes over here, and the OH goes over here. All right? Okay, somebody asked me last night, so why do we need the enzymes if we already have the water? Because you take a piece of bread, stick it in a bowl of water. How long is it going to take to dissolve?
A long time.
A long time. But you put a piece of bread in your mouth and chew a couple of times, it dissolves, it disappears, because the enzymes are snipping this up. They're speeding up the hydrolysis. They're not involved, they're not the water. The water is in your saliva, the water is in what you're drinking. But the fact that the enzyme is there makes this become seconds as opposed to minutes. Got it? And the same thing is true. Imagine how long it would take to break down a piece of protein in water, or a piece of fat in water. With the enzymes, we break it up a lot faster. Okay? And you have enzymes in your body to speed up the putting together of things, as well as speed up the breaking up things. Okay? But in this chapter, it's all about breaking up, because this is the digestive chapter. Does that make sense? Okay. Because that's one of the things the students always ask me. Oh, and another thing that's kind of cool is if what you're trying to break down is amylose, OSE, carbohydrate, what am I going to use? Amylase. In other words, the same thing, only an ace at the end to let you know that's what I'm breaking up. Cool beans? Okay. let's see if there's anything else that I can think of. Oh, okay. Another question that people ask is, how can you tell the difference between the alimentary canal and the accessory organs? Think of the canal as the tube from your mouth to your anus. Got it? So everything that is the tube is the alimentary canal. Small intestine, large intestine, rectum, esophagus, mouth. Got it? Even your stomach is part of the tube. But everybody else is accessory. They're helping. The food doesn't go through them, but they're helping digest. Your salivary glands, your teeth, your liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, which is hiding behind the stomach. Okay? Those guys are adding their juices and their, enzymes and stuff in order to help break down the food that's going down the tube. Cool beans? Okay. I think that's pretty simple here. We talked about this, and that's lab, okay? We identified this. Here up, that's your mucosa. Here down, submucosa, muscularis, and below that, the serosa. And you have Auerbach plexus, that's the nerves in the submucosa. No, sorry, that's the Meissner's. And the Auerbach plexus is here between the two smooth muscles, okay? And we have circular that goes all the way around, and we have longitudinal that go, circulars are for squeezing and longitudinals for stretching, okay? And you'll see that we have something called the gut brain because we have almost as many nerves in the intestines as we have in our brain, okay? All right. And of course, who's running the show for your digestive system? Rest and digest, sympathetic. Now, can this override this? Oh yeah. When you're in fight or flight mode, we slow all of this down, okay? So we can send all our blood to the arms and legs for fighting and flighting. Got it? Okay. And we also have some enteroendocrine glands. What does that mean? They are in the intestines or alimentary canal, and they're going to make hormones. All right. That's pretty much straightforward. Please don't forget, your taste buds are here, and they only taste 5 things. So, gee, how come I can taste coffee? My favorite. How come I can taste chocolate and strawberry? Because 80% of your taste is smell. Okay? That's why it's important to have your nose right above your mouth. 10-4. That's where most animals have their nose, right above their mouth, because it's very important that they smell the food and taste it. Also, when you got a really bad cold, your food tastes like nothing. Because, all you see, sour, bitter, salt, that kind of stuff. Cool beans? All right. We talked about the tonsils in the... Sorry, there's my phone going on. Let me make sure you missed nothing. Okay. Tonsils, getting confused. Your tonsils are here, remember? Okay. And when you're talking about the digestive system, behind your nose is the nasopharynx, behind your mouth is the oropharynx, behind your larynx is the laryngopharynx. And the only thing we need to know is that we change our histology as we go down. Because what's in your nose? Just air. What's in your trachea? Just air. So they have the exact same pseudostratified columnar, right? With what on top?
Cilia.
Cilia, very good. And because this here already has food and air, and this has food and air, it's the same thing as the inside of your mouth. Stratified squamous. Yeah, okay. So we can have abrasion and not bleed and not get hurt. Cool beans? And that's really, everybody listening on the other end here, it's the reason why we here push the histology, okay? We started it in 112, we talk about it again in 210 and again in 211 because you only have so many kinds of tissues and we keep using them in different places because it's always the same purpose. Got it? So, if you need to build something out of cinder blocks, it doesn't matter what the building looks like, but if we need cinder blocks, we're going to use it. Got it? And the same thing for your different types of tissues. All right, we don't have to worry about the teeth. What I do want to talk about is because that's lab. The most important thing that I'm trying to remember, I know it's one of those things here. Oh, swallowing. Is this thing about swallowing or not?
I don't see anything in the review.
Right. Well, it's cool. I'm going to do it. Your tongue is used to make a bolus of food with your saliva. Got it? That's a ball of food, which is easier to push. Got it? Well, when you're getting ready to swallow, the first thing your tongue does is push the food up against your hard palate. Well, your food only has two places to go: forward, out your mouth, or backwards, down your throat. Since Mama said, eat with your mouth closed, chances are the food's going to stay in your mouth. 10-4? Okay. But as soon as we do that, this food could go into your nose, so your soft palate flips up to close the nasal cavity. At the same time, when the food goes down, your epiglottis closes the trachea. See, there's the epiglottis, it's open, and now we've closed it, okay? So that the food can only go down the back, all righty? And of course, once the food starts heading down, peristalsis pushes the food down to your stomach.
That's why when you laugh while drinking, it shoots up your nose.
Exactly. Because whenever you're laughing or talking, you're opening the epiglottis. And when you open it up, you're pushing air up. So you could push it up into your nose if it's liquid. If it's solid, it'll go down your trachea. And that's where the Heimlich maneuver comes in. Okay? Yeah, water we can push up, or milk or whatever out your nose, but not so much food, okay, unless it's small pieces. And again, anybody ever got something stuck in your nose? It doesn't feel good, okay? Even if it's milk. Why? Because those are not stratified squamous. Yeah. They don't know how to handle all that liquid, okay, or food, all right? Cool. Got it? All right. The one thing I wanted to talk about for sure, let's start over here. I know it's coming, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Howdy. Okay. So here's your stomach. All right. And your stomach then becomes the duodenum or the duodenum. All righty. We have a valve here and we have a valve here. Okay. This is the cardiac sphincter. When the food goes down, I'm going to close that so it doesn't go back up. And the same thing here. When I'm sending the food down, I don't want it to go back. All right? Your stomach has not one, not two, but 3 layers of muscle. What does that mean? You really have to pulverize your food. Why? Because even though this is full of food, I can only put a little bit in my duodenum at any time. Got it? All right. Okay. The reason I'm saying this is because the first thing we break down are your carbs. Where? In your mouth, thanks to your salivary glands. Okay? What do I break down here?
Proteins.
Proteins, that's right. You break down proteins using pepsin. Okay? Wait a minute, Mr. Weber, I thought enzymes ended in ACE. Well, not the first 10. The first originals, they gave the IN protein ending until they realized, wait a minute, there's so many of them, we've got to distinguish that from all the other proteins and started putting ACE, okay? So pepsin is used to break down proteins, all right? So now we know that proteins are starting to be broken down. Have we broken down nucleic acids? Have we broken down any lipids? No. For that, we need our buddies. We are going to have our liver. It's a horrible drawing, but there's our liver with our gallbladder. Okay? And then we have another buddy who in reality is behind your stomach. I'm going to draw him down here. And that's your pancreas. Okay? All right. Now, your pancreas is made of acinar cells. Acinar. Okay? The acinar cells are the ones that break down all 4 of your food groups. Okay? These acinar cells use lipase to snip lipids, and nuclease to break down nucleic acids, and 3 for protein. We have trypsin, chymotrypsin, and I think it's procarboxy. Was it, remember that one?
I was going to ask you, do we need to remember all of these?
No. Something ACE, okay? Now, what I want you to, but that was ACE. It was discovered later, okay? All right. But what does this tell me? Okay, lipase. Oh, and amylase, yeah, and amylase. Pancreatic amylase. So what does that tell me? That the pancreas breaks down all this stuff. And I say this in my video, I think, or at least I said it in class last night. You eat what you have enzymes for. We have no enzymes for sand, we don't eat sand. No enzymes to break down metal, we don't eat metal. But these guys break down proteins. And so does that one. So are eating proteins kind of important? Oh, absolutely. I need proteins for my muscles, and for my neurotransmitters, and for most of my hormones, and for my albumin. Got it? So, yeah, without this, we have trouble. But that shows you we have to eat this. Okay, now here's the beautiful thing. We have, right down the middle, a pancreatic duct, and it's going to send all of these into the duodenum. At the same time, the gallbladder has picked up all that bile, and the gallbladder is going to send that down through a bile duct, and together they're going to dump into the duodenum. And that's what you need to understand, especially for your lab pictures. But the reason we call our intestines by 3 different names is because they have 3 different functions. The first part of the duodenum is where we do the breaking down, because that's where the bile is. That's where the pancreatic juices are, okay? And we break it down, and then the rest of the 22-foot long tube, the jejunum, is where we absorb it all, okay? And then the last part, the ileum, is where we get it ready to go into the poop maker, which is the large intestine. Okay? All right. But I just want to make sure you understand how that works. So, there are 2 chemicals that drive students crazy. So let me make sure we have that under control. Secretin and CCK, cholecystokinin. All right? These 2 are hormones made here in the duodenum. And why do we need to know this? Because since this is my tube, how does my pancreas know you're needed? How does my gallbladder and liver know? Hey, send me some bile. How do they know that? They don't. So as soon as that first bit of food, what's the other name? What's the name for food? That's your food.
Chyme?
What's the?
Chyme?
It's called
Chyme?
chyme. Very good. Yeah. Chyme. Okay. And as soon as the first bit of chyme goes into the duodenum and stretches it out, we release these 2 hormones. And those 2 hormones travel through the blood and end up going, hey, liver, hey, gallbladder, send us your stuff. Got it? And these two also go to the pancreas. Now, in particular, I don't think this is a test question, but in particular, the secretin tells the pancreas to release bicarbonate, which of course is a base. Why do I need a bunch of base?
Get rid of the acid from the stomach.
Yes, because there's so much acid in the stomach, it would burn the duodenum. So we're going to neutralize it. 10-4. And the CCK in particular tells the pancreas release the enzymes. Okay? Now, not on the test, but maybe on your final. What else is your pancreas involved in?
Insulin.
That's right.
Glucagon.
Your pancreas has islands, which look white.
Islands of Langerhans.
Islands of Langerhans, and in there are your alpha and beta cells, which produce your glucagon and insulin. Okay? So, is your pancreas a busy little guy? Yeah. He's involved in, blood levels of glucose, as well as helping you to break down your food. Okay? But that's why I wanted to draw it, to show you where the secretin and the CCK go. Alrighty? I think there's another question on there about what is emulsification. Or at least somebody last night asked me about it.
I don't see it on here.
Oh, okay. Well, I can do emulsification for you real quick. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Here's a big blob of fat. Got it? This is your fat, your lipids. Okay? And I want to emulsify. Emulsification is not the same thing as an enzyme. Enzymes, like a scissor, snip at particular bonds. To emulsify, all we do is break the fat into smaller pieces mechanically. So we end up with small pieces of fat. Okay?
How do we do that?
Huh?
What causes it to break up?
Your stomach churning.
Okay, your stomach churning.
And yeah, of course we'd like to chew it too, but your stomach churning. Think about it. What kind of meal goes right through you and you get hungry again, and what kind of meal stays with you?
Carbs go quickly.
Carbs go right through you, so if you eat donuts for breakfast, you're going to be hungry in an hour. But if you have bacon and eggs or something like that, a little bit of lipid, the yolk, the bacon, it stays in here longer because it takes longer for your stomach to try to break it into small enough pieces to go down here. Does that help? Okay. Now, I want you to think about this emulsification the same way we think about Dawn takes grease out of our way. Okay? Just like if you put soap on your hands and just go like this in the water, is it going to come off? No. Oh, and what keeps the dirt on your hands? The oils. What keeps the dirt on your clothes? The oils. What keeps the food stuck to your plates? The oils. Okay? But what do we do in all cases? I'm mechanically making the fatty stuff become smaller. Okay? In your dishwasher, aren't we spraying the water against it to knock the pieces off your dishes? And in your dishwasher is an agitator. Again, okay? It's not just a tub of water and just, okay, there it is. Let's go. 10-4? So we break it down. Your bile is made up of molecules that are half nonpolar, so they stick to the nonpolar part of the fat. And on the other side are polar molecules that love water. So, what you do when you use bile or detergents, you build a bubble of water around it. Okay? And we call that bubble of water with the fat inside a mycel. Okay, that's an E here. And And that's why, what do we do after we wash our hands? Whoosh, down the drain. Got it? What do we do with the dishwasher water? Down the drain. And the same thing with your washing machine. Because once we have broken the fat and covered it in a bubble of water, we have to get rid of it. Otherwise, it'll dry up and come right back on your hands, on your clothes, on your dishes. 10-4. And that's what we're doing. Aren't we moving it down? And that's what's happening. Okay? So, we also, when we break that fat down, here's something else we need to know for our test. Where does the fat get absorbed? Hold on. I'll show you. Where'd my clicker go?
It's not on right there, right?
Huh? Is it right there? Oh, yeah. A black clicker sitting on this black one. I can't see it. All right. Let's go back to our, let's go back to our model. Okay. Okay, now, can you remember? Where does the fat go?
Into the lymphatic.
Lacteals.
The lacteals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the fat is out here, because these are the fingers that are going into the lumen. The fat goes into the lacteals and ends up, of course, going up just the thoracic duct. And we know that this is where the fat is because there's a bulge called the cisterna chyli, the cistern that holds chyle, and chyle is dissolved fat, as opposed to chyme, dissolved food. So that's where the dissolved fat goes. Where do the nucleic acids, amino acids, and the carbs go? Into your blood vessels. That's where they're absorbed. Okay? And, while we're sitting here, that's a Peyer's patch full of white blood cells. And these guys can wander in between the columnar cells, that's the black dots here, or anywhere they want to go. Because what are they trying to do? Stop any bacteria that are bad guys from coming into our lacteals or into our capillary bed. Alrighty? So that's why this is almost like a lymph node. But instead of the lymph going through the lymph node, these guys come out of the lymph node. That's why we don't call that a lymph node. It's a Peyer's patch. Okay? And but that's what they do. They're helping to fight off any bad guys that are trying to catch a ride. Because, some bacteria can make it through all the acid. Okay? They got a tough cell wall. And so, obviously, the stomach acid isn't going to kill it. And they might catch a ride into your bloodstream and make you septic. What happened at McDonald's? Have you not been watching the news?
No.
No. Okay. Outbreak of E. coli. Making, I think, one person died and 100 got sick. And they thought it was undercooked hamburger meat. Turns out that it was uncooked onions that they put on the Big Macs or whatever. Okay? Shows you how long I've had a Big Mac. I thought they were sauteed onions, but they're putting raw onions on there now. Okay? Well, E. coli comes from a cow. All right? That's why undercooked hamburger meat might have E. coli in it, because we churn it all up, the inside and the outside of the meat. It was an onion this time. How in the world did E. coli from a cow get onto an onion? Well, guess what they use for fertilizer? Cow manure. And guess what might even be worse? Human manure. That's used sometimes. Okay, in farms. They do sewer water. Why? Because it's cheaper than getting ammonia-based fertilizer. You just want the nitrogen from it. So, clean everything, wash everything is the rule. Of course, when you get a hamburger, you're not going to take it home and clean it. So you expect it to be good. So that's why McDonald's said, no onions on our stuff until we resolve where this happened, which farm did this come from, why did it not get washed and cleaned on the way to the restaurant. Okay. This is not a test question, but a think it through question. We have E. coli in our large intestine. Our E. coli break down the roughage that we can't eat, and as a thank you for us feeding them, they make B vitamins and K vitamins for us. Okay? So do we want E. coli in our large intestine. Yes, we do. So why did we get sick from these E. coli?
It's not our E. coli?
Yeah, it's not our E. coli. They come from a cow. And the cow's E. coli has the same surface antigens that we have. So all the white blood cells say, come on down. You're a friend. You're a self. We recognize your cover. Got it? Because it's the same E. coli covering that we have on our E. coli. The difference is once those cow E. coli make it into our circulatory system, they release a chemical which is toxic to us, causing us to have anaphylaxis. And that's what caused people to go to the hospital, anaphylactic shock, because they were getting septic from all that E. coli. 10-4? That's one of the things I love about teaching here and teaching this stuff is because A, I can put several chapters together, and B, I can actually pull in the news too, because all this stuff is happening all around us, which is really interesting. And those of us who are going into the medical field, you're going to be seeing this with your own eyes. So, okay, is that cool? All right. Any questions? Let's turn to the questions.
All right, I'm going to mispronounce a whole lot of these.
Go for it.
What is, I'll spell it Kwash, Kalkwashior? How do you say that?
Oh, kwashiorkor.
Kwashiorkor.
Okay, I don't know if I got a picture of kwashiorkor here. I bet it's in the next chapter, the nutrition chapter. I mixed up some of those. I found out last night, so bear with me. We'll catch up next week. Kwashiorkor is the disease of the abandoned child. That's the little kids with the big bellies. Okay?
No albumin.
We get the same thing in adults. It's called ascites. That's the next word. But they're both caused by the same thing. Lack of albumin. Remember, albumin is in your blood and it pulls all of the water that comes out with hydrostatic pressure on the arterial end, pulls it back into your blood vessels on the venous end. But if you're starving, do you have enough protein in your diet? No protein, your liver can't make albumin. Got it? Now, how about ascites? That's a person who's abused alcohol and they've damaged their liver. And the liver can't make the albumin. And again, the water goes, instead of being all in one area, it does get drained, but it goes into the largest cavity of your body, the abdomen, and you get a beer gut. Got it? Doesn't mean your stomach is that full. It means your abdomen is that full of water. Okay? That's ascites.
Cool. Sure. All right. What causes HDL to go up or go down?
Okay. HDL and LDL. Who is the healthy one? Who is the lethal one? H for healthy. L for lethal. Okay? And the reason they're healthy and lethal is because of what they do for a living. The HDLs and LDLs carry cholesterol. They carry fat. They're made by your liver. Okay? LDLs are smaller, and they take cholesterol, they take lipids, and they take it from the liver and deliver it to your arm and leg muscles so that we can use it when we're working out. Got it? Because your skeletal muscle can use fat as a substitute for glucose. Okay? All right. HDLs, on the other hand, they travel around in your blood, pick up stray cholesterol, and bring it back to the liver for processing. Alrighty? And what does your liver do with cholesterol? It makes your lipid-based hormones. It makes cell membranes. Got it? Your liver does a lot of stuff with that cholesterol. All right? So, which one is better for you? Lowering your blood cholesterol or raising your blood cholesterol? Got it? And that's why I'm on Lipitor, because my liver genetically just makes way too much LDL and way too little HDL, which allowed the cholesterol to build up in my blood. Okay? And what happens with the cholesterol, it'll stick to the walls of your blood vessels, making them smaller and smaller in diameter. It's called occlusion. And of course, that's what happened to my coronary arteries. which is why I have stents in it. 10-4. So that's why they're making sure I'm on Lipitor to make my liver flip the switch and force it to make more HDLs and less LDLs. So when you're healthy, your HDLs are high, and that's because you are exercising more, and Mr. Couch Potato here isn't doing that, right? And that's what raises it. So if it doesn't do it by itself, we have to get a little help with the Lipitor. 10-4? Okay. So yeah, more exercise, more HDLs.
And that is going to be, we're going to look more at that in chapter 26.
Yes.
Okay. Positive versus negative nitrogen balance.
That's also in the next chapter. But which one of the 4 food groups that we eat contains nitrogen? Amino acids. The amino part of an amino acid is N with 2 H's, okay? Which we have to cut off. And who does that? Who separates the amine from the rest of it? See if I don't know if I have. Mr. T has moved a lot of my stuff, so I don't know if I got it. But I made some models for you guys to look at, but we ain't got them no more. I don't know where they are. Okay. Sorry. But, okay. Can you see this corner here real quick? All right. This is an amino acid. It's C attaching to 4 things. On this side, C double bond O, OH. And here, the nitrogen with the 2 H's. Okay? And then these are just 2 H's for placeholders. All right. If we're going to use amino acids in our Krebs cycle, I can't put nitrogen in the Krebs cycle.
Yeah.
So we cut off. This can go into the Krebs cycle. This one has to be eliminated. Alrighty? Well, as soon as we cut that off, we actually pick up a 3rd H, and that's ammonia. Like Windex. Is that good for us? No, it'll kill us. So immediately your liver attaches a CO2 to this ammonia, makes it a less dangerous urea. Got it? That our body can tolerate. Our brain still can't, but we have the blood-brain barrier. Who's that? Who protects our brain from urea?
I know the
They
cells
wrap their
with the
feet.
feet
Yeah, they
that
wrap-
wrap around. I can't remember the
They
name.
look like stars. Astrocytes. Okay, like an asterisk. Okay, so the astrocytes, got it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you and I aren't dead. Alrighty, but the ammonia is what we got to get rid of. Okay, and so when the ammonia is in your blood, we can test for that. It's called BUN, blood urea nitrogen. Okay, that's your creatinine, that's your uric acid, and your urea. Alrighty. Anything that deals with nitrogen, got it? Okay. And so, what was the question now?
I think the question was what breaks up? Is it what breaks up the nucleic acid?
Is that what the question was?
Oh no!
Oh.
We were talking about positive versus negative nitrogen.
Oh,
balance.
okay. Yeah. So, whenever we're talking about nitrogen balance, we're talking about how much protein do we have. That's all. Because protein is the only one that has nitrogen in its molecule.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, DNA does too, but we don't use DNA for food. Got it? We have 4 things that we eat, but we only use 3 of them for making fuel. Carbs, lipids, and proteins. Got it? We use DNA to make our DNA. We take the A's and the T's, the C's and the G's from an animal and turn it into our A, T, C, and G. Okay? But yeah, so whenever we're talking about nitrogen balance, it's protein. Got it? How much protein? What do I mean by positive balance? I'm holding more than I'm losing. That's when you're a child growing up. How was negative? I'm losing more than I'm gaining. I'm getting old and decrepit, or I'm fighting off something, I'm sick. Does that make sense?
Is that why it's harder for you to heal
Yes.
when you're older?
And don't I know it? It doesn't help that I'm on medicines that keep me from clotting my blood too, I'm on antiplatelet stuff. So that's to make sure they don't stick in my blood vessels in my heart. 100%. Did that help?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. The next one, hypoglycemic agent versus hyperglycemic agent.
That is the next chapter for sure.
Okay.
I will say, what does the word hyperglycemia mean?
High,
What's glyco?
sugar
in my emia.
in your blood.
Right.
Okay.
High, so
blood
high
sugar.
and low. Agent means that's what I cause. Got it?
Okay.
So be careful. We'll talk about it next time. Make sure you make a little arrow going to the next time so I don't forget to do that. But when you say you're an agent, you do something. Got it? An agent makes things happen. So what agent is going to make your blood sugar go up? Glucagon.
Glucagon.
Yeah. Glycogen is the stored version of it. Be careful. Glucagon. So who is a hypoglycemic agent?
Insulin.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an agent to make it go hypo. Got it? Here, hypo and hyper doesn't mean to be sick. It just means higher and lower. Okay?
Gotcha. All right. Is it chylomicrons?
Okay. Well, what's chyle?
Dissolved fat?
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Can chyle go into the lacteal?
Yes.
No.
No.
It needs to be attached to a protein because fats don't like water.
Oh, yeah.
So we attach the fat to a protein, and when the fat and the protein come together, we call that a chylomicron, a small piece of chyle. Okay? That's all it is. So the chylomicrons are the way we carry lipids in the lymph. Okay? And then later on in the blood. If it comes from the lymph, it goes into the blood too.
But we don't break down the protein at all in the lymph. Just the
No, we don't break anything in the lymph.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
It's
transport.
just carrying it.
Yeah, it's carrying it. Yeah.
Um,
But we have to attach it first.
Gotcha. And it stays attached all the way in when
all
it's
the way
in the
through.
blood.
Yeah, until it gets to the liver when the liver uses what he needs to use.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Next was, where does cholesterol come from? We kind of talked.
Okay, well, the liver is the one that processes all these lipids, and the liver creates the cholesterol.
Sure.
So there you go.
And then what is cholesterol used for?
Okay, cell membranes, because they're non-polar, membranes, for making fat-soluble vitamins, for allowing us to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. You can't absorb fat without fat. We also make all of our lipid-based hormones and stuff like that,
Okay.
Lipid-based paracrines and stuff.
All o none rule pertains to
That's
which
proteins, so that's next time.
Okay. We already talked about this. Healthy LDL and HDL.
Yeah.
Role of CCK in
That was that.
secretin.
Yeah, that's why I
Will
did the drawing.
Will you just say the role of each one more time?
Sure. First of all, they're both released from the duodenum when the first food comes in.
Does secretin or CCK both come from the pancreas?
No, they both come from. They're
both going
to the pancreas.
To the pancreas. Yeah.
They go to the pancreas, and I'm going to imagine they go to the gallbladder and the liver too to say, "Send me your bile." Got it? Remember, the gallbladder simply concentrates the bile that the liver makes.
Yeah.
See, the liver makes it in its two big lobes, and we send it to the gallbladder, and then the gallbladder sends it to the duodenum. Okay?
Yeah.
But the reason we need to have a working gallbladder is because when we concentrate the bile, take away the water, it can really break down fats pretty quickly. I've got students who tell me, oh, I had to change the way I eat when I had my gallbladder surgery. Because now you're getting the watered down, not concentrated from your liver. So whereas you would be able to eat a whole thing of French fries in one sitting, or a whole bag of chips, or something else that's fatty, you can only have a few, because if you eat a whole bag, you're going to be shooting the fat out of your rear end before you can make it to the bathroom. Because if it's not broken down by the bile, it's going to go out somewhere. Okay? And that's the unfortunate thing. Okay? When you have a gallbladder. You can survive, I'm just saying, but you have to change the way you eat your fatty foods. Okay? No more running down to the state fair and get your Fisk fries and all, all that fried donuts and fried marshmallows or fried Mars bars or whatever they use.
Fried Oreos.
Yeah, fried Oreos. Somebody told me that they have a fried stick of butter.
I've heard of that. It sounds terrible. It sounds gross.
They say, "Ooh, it tastes great." And well, I can't imagine putting a whole bar of butter in my mouth and saying, "Wow, it's good."
It's to the south.
It's the South, yeah.
That's
why we have such high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we at. Oh, the next question was, how does bile work? We kind of already talked about that.
Emulsify. Yeah.
For the emulsifying, does that happen just in the stomach, or it happens in the small intestine as well?
Only in the small intestine, because we don't send the bile until we get to the duodenum. There's nothing in the stomach.
Okay.
The stomach is
because I remember
only
we
pepsin.
talked about how the stomach is churning it up.
It's churning to break it into smaller pieces. So then we coat it here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. How are different amounts of HCl produced in the stomach? Or HCl?
That's a good one. Hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
Let me turn this back on, okay?
Gotcha.
We got a nice slide on that one. Oh, see? Oh, what we talking about? See, the stomach just churns it up?
Churns it up.
Okay. Alright. I know it's in the last my granddaughter when she had her teeth taken. Alright. Okay. It's coming up. Ah, here we go. One of the main histological differences between your stomach and your intestines, your stomach has pits, your intestines have villi. Got it? Pits, villi. Okay, so the villi are in the duodenum. What's in your pits? 3 kinds of cells. On the walls are the parietal cells, just like the 2 lobes on the side of your brain, parietal. 2 bones, parietal, off to the sides. Near the bottom are these little guys that they've painted purple, and they are the enteroendocrine glands, which make hormones, one of them being gastrin, which makes sense from the gastric region. And all the rest of these guys are your chief or principal cells. Okay? Chief cells or principal cells. What do we need to know is we don't make pepsin straight out. We start with a pepsinogen, a precursor. So the chief cells make the precursor, the parietal cells make acid, and when they come together, boom. In other words, the acid acts like the enzyme to speed up the process of making this enzyme pepsin. Okay? And what's pepsin break down again? Proteins. Okay. Got it? All right. You've heard of people having too much stomach acid? Okay. Well, there's your parietal cell. Don't worry too much about it, but stomach acid is HCl. Got it? Well, from this pump, we pump H's in as we pump K out. It's an antiport. But we got chlorine in our blood. So you bring the chlorine in here. What's chlorine? and H going to make hydrochloric acid. Okay? So your chlorine is used in two ways. Number one is the chloride shift, and here to make stomach acid. Okay? Have you ever heard of a commercial that says, Prilosec turns off the acid pumps? That's what it does. It stops this. So we're not making as much acid. Got it? Into the lumen of the stomach. But this is how your body normally makes acid. All right? We need 1, 2, 3 ligands, 3 chemicals that must land on the parietal cell. If it's low acid being produced, if only 1 ligand binds, a whole bunch of acid if all 3 bind. All righty? Let's kind of talk about how this works. All right? And this is just how I remember it, so it's easier to remember. Okay? That's acetylcholine, which is part of what nervous system?
The parasympathetic or
Which
the
is?
autonomic?
Which is rest and digest.
digestive.
So when you're resting, we got this. Okay? When we're nervous, do we have this? So we're not going to make acid as much. Does that make sense? Okay. When do we release histamine?
Something foreign.
Exactly. And when you're eating something foreign because you're not taking a bite out of your own arm.
I have a question on histamine specifically, because
Mm-hmm.
I know with inflammation we release histamine. So when we are eating, we release histamine, but it doesn't cause any type of like inflammation or anything.
No, because it's. Don't ask me why. I don't know that part, but it's also in your stomach.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not your skin breaking out and stuff like that. Okay. But we did realize that, oh look, if somebody takes an antihistamine, they suddenly had less hydrochloric acid being produced. Somebody with an ulcer, hey, I feel better. When they were on an antihistamine for, on Benadryl for hay fever. So scientists said, hey, 1 + 1 = 2. That's when they realized, oh my gosh, histamines are involved. But logically, if we're eating something, it is foreign to us, okay? And then last but not least is the gastrin hormone that's released from those gastric pits when they're filling up. When we stretch out the stomach, we make gastrin.
Gastrin is what tells you when you're hungry or not, right? Or it makes your stomach growl.
That's ghrelin.
Ghrelin.
Yeah,
Okay.
ghrelin makes it growl. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's a hormone from your stomach saying, I'm empty, feed me.
Okay.
And that goes to your brain and says, ding, 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 which part of your brain is hunger and thirst? Hypothalamus. Very busy character, yeah. So the hypothalamus says, I better eat something because my stomach is growling. Okay? That's growling. And it's actually the opposite of neuropeptide Y, which makes you hungry. Okay? Actually, leptin. Leptin is a hormone from your fat cells that says I'm full. And it neutralizes, or is the opposite to neuropeptide Y. And I think they call it Y because why am I so hungry? Why am I eating all the time? Got it? So neuropeptide Y. All right. Right now, is your stomach full of food? No. But you are making some acid because what's true? You're resting.
Yeah.
Got it? Now, why do you think we need to make a little bit of acid while we're resting? You're doing it right now. Swallowing your saliva.
Oh, killing the bacteria.
Yes. So any bacteria in your mouth are catching it right down. That's why if you don't have enough saliva, dry mouth, you're going to get poopy breath. You're going to get dookie breath. Okay? All right. So we have to swallow and hopefully kill the bacteria. But what else are we swallowing besides bacteria? What's coming off my skin?
Oh,
You're losing skin cells on the inside of your mouth. So is that self or non-self?
Self.
So we're not making this. We don't need to because we're eating ourselves. In small amounts, please, But that's what happens. Unless you spit it out every 5 seconds, you're swallowing your own cheek cells. Okay? But the acid helps to snip apart those cells so we can reuse all the parts. Everything in biology is used and reused. It's really cool. Recycled, it's amazing. Okay? So, does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next is steps of cellular respiration. Yeah,
okay.
We can skip that.
We hopefully know that.
Causes of stomach ulcers.
Stomach ulcers.
90% is that one.
Yes, right
What is
there.
it called?
Helicobacter pylori. Okay? Now, it doesn't show very well here in this computer-generated picture, but it's actually twisted. That's why it's a helix, helicobacter, a helix-shaped bacteria. And where does it live? In the pyloric region, the lower region of your stomach, Helicobacter pylori. And the reason is, we once thought that you had a lot of hydrochloric acid which burned its way through your stomach wall, which is muscle, alrighty? And they thought, oh, stress, spicy food, taking aspirin every day. But not everybody who smokes takes aspirin every day or is stressed has ulcers. And so they found that if you're having an ulcer all the time, it might be this bacteria. And that's because they discovered that this one guy who had ulcers, it went away when he was taking an antibiotic for some other infection. And again, they put 2 and 2 together. Why did antibiotic help his ulcer? Maybe the ulcer is not stress. Maybe the ulcer is a critter. That's a bacteria, and there it is. What do? The inside of your stomach is coated with bicarbonate, so that the stomach acid doesn't burn through the walls. Well, guess what he does? He eats the bicarbonate, eats it in a circle, and now there's an open patch where the acid can burn your stomach wall. Okay? And that's what hurts. And a bleeding ulcer, you've burned all the way through the muscle to the blood vessels. And what's bad with that is obviously you're bleeding all the time, but number 2, any bacteria can go right into your blood system. Okay?
Septic.
And get your septic again. So,
And
but that's why people who come in and complain, I've got stomach acid and whatnot, they first check and see if it's the food you're eating, then they do an endoscopy and see if they can find these critters down in there. Because at least then you can be nipping it in the bud, I would hate somebody to say, oh, just keep taking Pepcid AC, keep taking Rolaids. Not if it's a critter that you can kill with, a few rounds of antibiotics. So.
All right. And then the last one on 25 is how are nutrients absorbed into the blood? That I feel like is pretty simple.
That's definitely next time.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. But we already said it. How do lipids go into the blood?
The
Big green things.
I know. I can't get it in my head.
Lacteals.
Yeah.
And all the rest of them
The blood vessels.
into the blood supply of the villus. Okay? And that's basically how they go in.
Gotcha.
10-4? Okay. And the only ones that need to be attached to a protein are the lipids.
Gotcha.
Okay? All the other ones are water soluble. Okay?
That's it.
Thank you all very much.